you're going to have something that can work with this Jayce that isn't going to be that very kind of bog standard pick in the jungle matchup. Ivern, oh my god.
Well. That's true. There's a whole lot of power picks. And again, if you're banning stuff out like Azir and Jax, which don't get me wrong, are incredibly powerful picks, it does mean that some of the other accepted power picks are going to get through. Gala gets Kaisa. He's had a sparing few games of it this year. And in his first game in spring and his first game in summer, he got a pentakill in both of those games. Now when push comes to shove against top esports, one of the greatest teams in LPL history, maybe not on their best split ever, but still finding some of that form, this Kaisa pick early, this is a statement game now for Gala to start things off on the right foot.
Well, they got the Rell in, that's the flex as well, that can go into the jungle or the support, and we'll say we are seeing more junglers kind of taking it up there. Tarzan definitely someone I would say would be very versed on this particular champion and the roles, but this is what we were highlighting earlier as well for top esports. They're happy to get something that has lane priority, and the Varus into the Kaisa, if that is a bot lane Kaisa, will just be able to perma push basically up until like 15-20 minutes.
Typically, you see the Kaisa into mid lane when it's against the LeBlanc because it has some good trading patterns, so this is likely to be in the AD carry role, but it is right to call it as technically a flex into that mid lane as well. Ooh. So if it gets Gwen, though, and this is the thing, we have a lot of these power picks up, particularly in that Jayce and the Kaisa, which means that we were saying, oh, you know, maybe we're going to see some later AD carry picks. Because the Kaisa's locked in very early, you need to respond with the lane-dominant Varus, which changes up this draft a little bit again. So Scout's going to get likely counter pick later into the draft, and we'll have to see what happens with that Rell. You're absolutely right. I think particularly Shadow from Ninjas in Pajamas was using this very well into jungle, drawing jungle bans in the second round and then just flexing it into jungle anyway. So top esports, they need to put those bans somewhere, but that flexibility can cover some of these champion pools, which LNG can use.
I love what LNG are doing right now as well. Picking the top laner on 3, then going in and saying, look, we get rid of the Renekton. They're almost kind of pushing Wayward onto a Cassante pick right now. We know just how much better than Gwen is in those late game stages, and kind of saying, look, we know we've got a side lane pressure. You're going to have to try and deal with this. Top esports answering in kind. They don't believe that that Rell is going into the jungle. They believe it to be in the support role. So they're banning away things like the Nocturne, or at least covering for that particular eventuality. And again, more love these from LNG, just kind of moving Wayward onto things like the Cassante, maybe even you know, an Ornn pick that just won't have that kind of, you know, stability against something like a Gwen.
Yes, that's exactly what we were calling for in this pre-game as well, saying, hey, Zika's in great form, give him the Gwen. Wayward doesn't have a champion pool, which will really threaten it right now. LNG, kind of expect them to hold that Rell counter pick until last. They're hovering over that Ashe. Of course, the Kaisa could technically go towards that mid lane. We have said that it does tend to go into that LeBlanc. We're expecting that Kaisa to go towards bot lane, and Scout will have his choice of picks into the Jayce. Choice is Neeko. It's fallen off a little bit as we've gone further through summer, but it is still a very powerful pick. It's an extra engaged threat alongside that Rell too. Of course, Gwen doesn't give you that much engaged threat. Being able to combo up with that Rell will mean that they actually have some good AoE team fight CC.
Well, looks like the Gnar is going to be the choice of it. As you mentioned earlier, the Nautilus for Mark has kind of become his flavor
He's a one-trick
of the month.
and proud.
He's a little one-trick. Yeah, you know what? If it works, don't fix it. That's how I kind of say. But we'll see where this Rell does end up kind of going right now. It could be still in the jungle role. They did wait to the last pick here as LNG look to try and finish up their options. And I like this coming out for them. They do recognize they've got a hell of a lot of AP to kind of work with. Now, of course, you can't go full AD with the Kaisa, but still good scalings with that. They want to try and get an extra engage, and look, just good Venn diagrams of death from LNG.
That's exactly what I was going to call out as well, because I think that Wayward has picked the last remaining champion in his champion pool that can kind of survive against the Gwen in a 1v1. But in a team fight, if you have Mini Gnar, Jayce, and Varus, we talk about the Neeko kind of helping do double duty on engage with Rell. They can both help each other engage. Wukong loves that as well. He doesn't want to be the only engage. Now you've got 3 of these champions all jumping onto this squishy backline. If the positioning is suspect from top esports and they don't get good vision control on their flanks, they are going to get...
In the lower half of the bracket, they will have a date with Weibo to try and even have a shot at Worlds. Winner gets themselves up a little bit closer to trying to get top 4 in Worlds. We'll have to wait and see. It's only game 1. We still have a hell of a lot of League of Legends.
You know what? Serious shout-out to that one LNG fan in the crowd. They have been absolutely yelling their lungs out, and it hasn't even been a minute into the game. I think everyone deserves a hype man like that, and I think particularly for LNG, having themselves a pretty exemplary playoff performance so far as well, they deserve that hype for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, they deserve a little bit of hype. If you didn't see the team intros as well, he was going for it in the team intros as well. To see Rookie just dropping down a ward to see if he can catch out Tarzan. Zika making sure he knows exactly where Wayward is going to be. Good trade back here for Zika. Let's try and make sure Wayward doesn't go. And this is the thing. Look, Gnar, fantastic. You get that big engage. It's awesome. In mini, he is just so squishy. And honestly, I was going to say Rookie might have to make a little bit of a detour over here because Zika, with the dash or the skip and the snip, is going to be able to do a hell of a lot of work here to Tian and Wayward. They can't stop him. They're going to have to reset this. This is great from Zika.
Oh, this is incredible. And what he knows is that Gnar is in mini. He's not melee. You can't use the melee synergy between jungle and top lane for that permafrost level 1. Zika slows down the jungle start, gets good information on what Tian is doing, and that will give Tarzan a bit of an artificial advantage because Zika has done the hard legwork. We talked this guy up some pretty big game, and he's doing well at level 1.
This is exactly what you need to be doing as well. Zika finally seeing what ability was taken level 1 by the Gnar. Does take the boomerang as he held that one close to his chest for as long as he physically could. But again, great to see kind of, you know, good initiative coming out from Zika. And you can see just how confident he is. Normally, you know, obviously you want to be a little bit more defensive if you don't feel like you can take the fight. But with Ghost, he knows that level 2, 3, there is a very real possibility he could just jump into Wayward and try and take him out.
Very interested to see now what happens from LNG and if they can kind of keep jungle tracking going. They'll know that Tian is a little bit behind on his timers, which might give Tarzan some options elsewhere. Let's see what happens with Scuttle Crabs. Often it will materialize in that. Tarzan is seen making his own many mistakes, though, so that will reset some of those timers a little bit more into neutral.
We'll see him, though, kind of moving back down towards the spot side, making sure that he's covering for any eventualities of the Sejuani. Regardless of how the Sejuani ended up starting, they have done a fairly decent job of clearing, and that's just the power of the Sejuani in general. Your clear is super safe, you're generally super quick with it as well, so you can get plenty of jobs, you know, kind of early pressure down, and might see him go towards his bot side. He will be level 3. Yeah. He really wants to make something work. And
there was a moment of brief, like, mental confusion for me, because that is JackeyLove's Kaisa skin. That is the IG Kaisa, which he won Worlds on. Gala picks it up. And of course, there are so many good Kaisas in the LPL. I think Gala has really set himself apart from a great many of the others. He is just so special on that champion. But picking up the skin of the opponent as well, that is just an extra kind of like bit of asserting dominance right there.
I mean, I'm all here for it. I'm going to say it right here, right now. Gala is the best Kaisa in the world. I do, bar none. That is my 100% belief in this. And
I am not arguing with you.
No, absolutely. I mean, most people would say would be tough to argue for it or against it. But, I mean, the guy has just gotten so many highlight plays on this champion. And now we're in a meta where the Kaisa is, like, 100%, like, pick or ban. It just feels like he's in just such a great moment here to try and carry this game. And honestly, like, he's not even going to be going, or I'd be very surprised if he goes the AP Kaisa build as well because of the Gwen and the Neeko on his team already.
With the double AP, you're absolutely right with that. JackeyLove Mark walking up, but all they're doing is trading their mana for some HP. They've got the wave in a good spot. It is important that JackeyLove and Mark have themselves a solid laning performance, but they can't overreach. If they were to get punished here, it would just allow Gala such an easy entry into this game. What you're really looking to do as top esports is to make the game unplayable for the Kaisa, where you have the Jayce and the Varus hitting skill shots from across the map, really, and across the screen. So Gala doesn't have the HP to make those montage plays. So starts from laning phase, good 10 CS lead already, makes that fairly nice for top esports.
Is nice going to be enough, though? That's the question. Is nice good enough? Does it have to be great? We'll see. All the eventualities that will happen. Of course, pretty standard to see nothing really happen. The game has kind of gone that way for the first 8 minutes or so. Don't really see a lot of action, generally speaking. Most teams just know it's just too high risk, too low a reward to try and make something happen in the early game.
For LNG. They are a very methodical team. They don't really flip in the same way that a Weibo or an OMG would do.
Okay, Zika just stopping the recall there so we can get a full reset. And that's, yeah, Wayward recognizes it. He goes, well, I can't actually reset now. I'd lose too much. And now Wayward taking a fair chunk of damage here. Zika really punishing on the top side. It won't really be about a 5 or so CS lead, but still significant regardless.
You can see that Wayward currently has teleport, though, so I think he was looking to get a buy, get back towards lane for that timing. I think with this in mind, I don't think the top lane situation is going to affect what's happening around the first dragon of the game so far. Zika's going to go back, gets himself some components, not got himself to the Leeching Leer yet for something a bit more Omni-Vampy. And as we see, junglers heading towards the bot side. First dragon has occasionally been looked at in these first few minutes, but as you said, it really hasn't been the largest amount of action so far. Tian might find Scout here, though.
Well, Scout does pop the Pop Blossom, does actually catch Rookie, who went a little bit too close. And that's first blood going over to Tarzan. They're going to try and maybe turn it back on the Tian. He's very tanky. They should be able to get the CC down onto Tarzan when he needs it. So Tarzan recognizes and goes back. But that is a rare mistake from Rookie there. Just went too close to the Pop Blossom too early.
Especially given his playoffs run. I'm just going to go back towards bot lane. JackeyLove currently out of position, has cleanse.
And Flash does have to use both of them to make sure he gets out alive. But all of a sudden, LNG, they're picking up the pace. They're changing the gears a little bit to put pressure on top esports.
Yeah, JackeyLove, next Q could have been fairly dangerous for Gala, but that's as you were saying, it's a very unfortunate mistake from Rookie, which gives some gold over to Tarzan and to Scout. As we said, top esports, they have some laning advantages to play through, particularly from this bot lane, and we can see that Tian has gotten ahead of the game. He's looking towards top lane. No Mega Gnar from Wayward just yet.
No Mega Gnar. We will see no Flash, though. Zika with the Ghost. Oh, right between the sticks. Gets himself nicely between the two oncoming aggressors, as we now see potentially an engage here onto Hong, but he does have the crash down, so hook back. We might see a little bit of a kill here. One more auto attack will be good, and JackeyLove punishes Hong, who just wanted to try and stop the back, and it was just a little too far for him.
I think some people need a reminder of how much damage Varus does in the early game. I mean, that's an ultimate coming through. It helps stack up that Blighted Quiver. It's a huge amount of damage coming onto Hong, who just disrespects JackeyLove. So that is not just a CS lead now from that bot lane, it's a kill. We talked about the 10 CS lead being nice, but was nice going to be enough? If it wasn't, this is a little bit more of a step in the right direction for top esports. Even though they kind of lost that play around mid lane and they couldn't make the gank work up towards top lane, JackeyLove has been so reliable. And that's a weird thing to say about JackeyLove, knowing his history as a very inconsistent player. He has been very reliable, particularly on stuff like this Varus with a lead. He's in a great position to do some damage now.
Yeah, and that's why we highlighted it. We highlighted it right at the start, is that when JackeyLove was able to have a pushing, winning lane into, like, you know, anything, be it the AP Varus or the lethality one, he has been a much, much bigger threat in these games, and it has been a win condition for top esports. I will say, though, if you look at towards the mid lane, Scout's got himself a 20 or so CS lead. Top lane's equaled out just a little bit as Zika tries to catch out this wave. Mega Gnar from Wayward just to clear it off himself, but I mean, this is the small little things. You are seeing the kind of divide in the map right now. LNG very much winning through that mid jungle, while bot lane's kind of coming to the forefront here for top esports.
Back into the here and now, though. We're going to go see a trade of these neutral objectives, potentially. Mark has Flash, and he's probably going to have to use it.
Yeah, and he's gonna die after the fact. The Ignite goes down. The Chain of Corruption is good. Tarzan actually flashes just to make sure. And out of 4 members of LNG, it's Hung who picks up that kill. JackeyLove, no flash, no cleanse, no Chain of Corruption either. And they may look to dive him as well. They need this minion wave to crash before they can do anything else, though.
I don't know how many members they can keep towards bot side, though. Rookie's going to get a plate, maybe even 2 in mid lane. Hypercharger does a lot of work in getting autos onto that turret. And as you can see, Scout is having to teleport back mid. Herald has already been put down in mid lane as well, so that's going to be, what, 3 plates total off of this mid turret, just the 2 maybe finished off later with that point. So in terms of the cross map, because JackeyLove survives on this bot side, I think top esports feel pretty okay about things all in all. Okay, so back into the replay. Looks like Mark was spotted in that river by one of that Pixel Brush. It's a little bit disrespectful. You know that your jungler's on top side, and it's quite obvious that they're on top side. So LNG have full information that there's no one coming to the rescue towards this bot side of the map. They are just very lucky that the gold doesn't go towards Gala. Last tick of Ignite finishes off that kill. And as we come back to live, it does feel like top esports come out the better of that play somehow.
Yeah, they got a lot more gold just kind of funneled into Rookie, as we did see. Get some plates onto himself, and no dragon was taken just yet by LNG. They will rectify that, though, and finally make the cross map happen. But it's the curious thing. When the Rift Herald and the dragon are traded, they happen at the same time, which means that the next time they spawn, we don't really see anything else, you know, kind of crazy happen. Both teams just kind of accept that they're gone, they're trading, and that's fine. Now that they're kind of on separated timers by about a minute, we could see a potential fight from both these sides to try and secure both.
There's definitely a chance, and I think top esports, so this is kind of what we've seen with Herald anyway. Actually, hang on to that thought. Flash forced out.
There's the flash that Rookie needed to use in the first time he died. Does end up losing it there, but again,
Well,
it kind of unnecessary. I mean, hey, look, I'm calling a spade right now. I mean, look, it does feel like, you know, it's these small little mistakes. Again, they're uncharacteristic. It's the high bar we set for rookie as such, but it does feel like it's pressure coming out here from on the side of Top Esports. It's kind of leading them to these small little differences. You know, again, did he need to push up that wave and cause to lose his flash? Probably not.
Potentially not, but he gets out of that one alive nonetheless. Mark pops the blast cone, which will give JackeyLove a little bit of extra safety next time he pushes up towards that tower. However, bot side vision control is being contested on both sides. You can see some red and blue wards being both put apart, and there's going to be a teleport behind JackeyLove.
There is indeed. The Neeko's coming down as well. Flash in with Magna Storm. You cannot cleanse that one, JackeyLove. He will have his flash in a couple of seconds. You know he wants it so badly. They're going to try and finish him off, and they will. Gala picks up that kill. Now they're turning on the Tian, who has to flash away. Nice little fancy feet, but it will not be enough. A double kill for Gala, and this Gala Kaisa is starting to ramp up.
Oh, it's the kind of the dam bursting at this point. Zika gets involved in the game. The double roots!
The double root there from Scout. He claims his prize. Gala gets himself a delayed triple. Doesn't even die. Oh, it's so clean from LNG.
But that is daylight robbery. Getting another 2 kills in the dive under turret. LNG make it look easy. It's anything but that. It's a great play. Tarzan responds towards top lane as well, importantly, which means that it's not going to be Wayward completely denying everything on the top side of the map. Having a bot side dive without your jungler, that's not the most common occurrence. Normally something like the level 6 Wukong is a huge factor in this, but it is Zika, the real overperformer of LNG in playoffs so far, comes down to bot lane and makes life a living hell for JackeyLove. He's been punished pushing up at this point. You can even see before this, Mark hopping over the wall to pop a blast cone. They knew that they wanted to protect this push, but they didn't clear out all the wards to make that the same within the lane itself. They had the right mindset, but they couldn't quite execute on it, and LNG just put them to the sword. That is a top draw route. Scout, I mean, take a bow, man.
I mean, look, we're going right back into the action. JackeyLove does get him flashing away this time around. The crash down from a Hong to keep himself alive. But these are the things that we're talking about, these small little increments. All of a sudden, JackeyLove again without summoners. And as a Varus, yes, you're powerful, but are you that powerful? No. Ultimate available for Gala. I thought maybe he might want to go for it, but with the Krakens there, 3-0 and 2. I mean, Gala is online right now, and it just feels like you can't give this man Kaisa. You just can't do it.
And this, before game 1 even started, before the draft, one of the big things that we were talking about, saying, look, it might not be the game which kind of completely breaks open this series, but it is huge to see what you can give over in terms of power picks and what you can't, as you see one of those wards being benefited by the geography of the map.
They know it's there.
But
they know
particularly
it's
with this,
marked.
but quickly going back towards the Kaisa, knowing that you can't give it over completely changes the way that you have to ban things from before. Remember they banned, Top banned out Jax and Azir in their blue side bans in the very start of it. If they have to drop one of those bans for the Kaisa, how does that change the rest of the map? Important information being given over because Gala is just really popping off again.
Yeah, this is Gala's 101st game of Kaisa in his career. He has 64 wins, which is pretty easy maths to say that's a 64% win rate on this champion out of 100. Like, I mean, like if you turn around to anybody and say, oh, you pick a champion, you'll nearly have like, you know, nearly 7 out of 10 times you'll win on it. Like, that's absurd at the highest level of play.
Especially doing it in one of the most premier regions in International League of Legends and esports in general. The LPL is such a hotbed of talent and competition. The fact that he's managed to pull out those kind of stats over that many years is absolutely absurd.
Well, now coming up to the 15-minute mark, the Rift Herald will spawn. This is what I was talking about earlier. Those spawns are now a little bit kind of separated enough that you could maybe go for a fight on either side. First item's pretty much finished across the board. You are missing quite a few key flashes though on the side of Top Esports. Only Mark and Wayward have access to theirs. We might see another engagement. It's going to be hard here for Top to really fight this. I feel like with all the kind of summoners and ultimates available, don't know how they're going to try and make this one work, but they're going to contest it regardless.
So, no great teleport flank wards. JackeyLove has cleanse, no flash, and honestly, the cleanse is not enough versus this kind of engage. Wayward on his own on the flank right now.
Looking for it. Bot lane turret does go down. Both mid laners have TP, but it is going to be first to be TP is Rookie. There's one great ward to come in now. They're going to try and burst out Hong, but he crashes down to get himself the shield.
Oh, Scout!
Scout finds 3, and they get snipped and shredded. They will be able to trade back Hong, but I mean, the support for everybody else. Wayward's already lost his Mega. He has to flash away. And LNG, just knowing they're stronger, knowing they had the right timings, completely obliterating Top Esports.
This was the real worry we had when all the champions were locked in. Top Esports backline, they just evaporate if they ever get caught. This time it's Scout that makes the difference, just like he did under the bot lane turret. This player in the mid lane has had such a great summer split. He was MVP in spring, picked up the most player of the games in summer as well. What a year he has had after leaving EDG, his kind of home for so many years, and making plays like this. This player is such a classy mid laner, particularly on these engaged mid laners like the Neeko. It just opens up so much damage opportunities for Gala and Zika, which need a little bit of help being set up for. Scout does it with, he's even gone from Medjai's second item. I love the snowball mentality.
I mean, you know, a lot of, like, again, you're kind of Top Esports in that you're throwing all of these key lockdown ultimates, the Chain of Corruption, the Glacial Prison, into the support. Yeah, you kill him, but he's just not a priority target. Hong did his job, you know? There's no one kind of questioning that in that regard. So I feel like they need to have better priorities in terms of which targets they're going for. We will see Wayward finally finishing off that turret in the top lane while Dragon is being taken. That will be the second here for LNG. Come back into live, and I mean, like, look across the board. The only person who's died on LNG is that Rell on the bot lane, so they're very happy with the current state of the game. Yeah, very happy with it.
Yeah, support dying for the team. It's a tale as old as time. So LNG, they walk away with the second Dragon, which means that Top Esports, they're not even denying something like a Soul coming through on a pretty good tick. That'll be Mountain Rift coming up as well, which of course is very important with a lot of these bursty team fights coming through. And Top Esports, importantly, didn't get that second Herald. I think particularly with the cross map we saw earlier with the first Herald being put into turret, it would have been very important for them to get a second Herald, unlock that mid turret very easily. Now they have to deal with Gala setting up shop in the mid lane. It's not like he's going the Shiv build, so they can potentially siege down this turret as opposed to playing against someone like a Shiv, which just instantly wave clears. But again, not having that Herald makes the job, again, that much harder.
This is just becoming harder and harder now for Top Esports. Look at the gold difference there on the top left there. So it just kind of goes away. You have 7,500.
Oh, actually, if you're a Top Esports fan, I would advise you to not look at the gold.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe, you know what? You're right. You know what? Don't look at it. The LNG fan, though, if you're a Gala man like myself, you definitely have yourself a little bit more of a smile on your face. But we'll see how it ends up kind of like finding out. It's not a million miles away. It's only 2,500 gold lead. We are going to see some kind of item completions coming in. And again, I do say the burden of execution does feel much heavier on LNG. You kind of need a couple of things more to kind of go right in order to get the perfect team fight. Like, you know, a perfect TP flank from a Neeko and whatnot. But it doesn't mean that it's impossible for Top Esports to come back. And that's kind of the question now is how? What are they looking for? Where are they looking to find those advantages?
I think the burden of execution can also be on just preying on mistakes as well, because it feels like on the other side of that, positioning from Top Esports carries is really hard to figure out in this game. There's so much damage coming from all angles, especially when they have gold. And gold they have. So Gala being able to fly in and assassinate someone, that's going to be a big issue. Now, Herald threatened in mid lane, flash pulled away from JackeyLove. That is an important tool taken, even if it's traded for Rell.
I don't think he's had his two summoners up like in
no,
the same time.
he's not been allowed them.
No, he's not been allowed because literally his cleanse was still down. It only just came back up after he blew his flash. So he's always just kind of on an odd number here. As we can see, Wayward just having this moment now with the Triforce, making sure that he's able to kind of get these side lane towers. Zika is still scaling up. Will look to try and, you know, kind of get himself in a much better situation once he's on that 2.5 items. That's when he's definitely feels like the side lane will be a little bit more in his favor. But now, as you mentioned earlier, the Rift Herald play, they're going to be able to confirm this tower in that mid lane. JackeyLove, remember, has cleanse but no flash. So needs to be a little bit careful with how far forward he's looking. Does pop the Youmu's, just knows he has to be able to be mobile. If he gets caught, he's dead.
Where does JackeyLove farm now? Legitimately, where does he farm? He's not been safe when he's been pushing up to any turret. He doesn't have a mid lane or a bot lane or a top lane outer turret to hide behind either. JackeyLove is a very good Varus player, don't get me wrong. He individually plays the champion well, but there is so many angles to punish him now. He's not going to have any resources to play out this game.
Gonna see if they can catch out Gala right now, who does have his ult and his flash should he need it. They are putting in a lot of work here. Gala will have to flash as that piercing arrow was coming over. Tried to be a little bit cheeky with his fancy feet, but getting the flash out of him is still a decent work. Will not be available for this next dragon fight in a minute 40's time.
So that's important. That actually opens up potentially a mid lane out of turret take for top esports, but I don't think they can stay even at that point. That's a real thorn in their side. They would love to take that mid lane out of turret, particularly because they just lost their own one. We need to see now in the next minute or two how vision control is going to evolve. As you can see, there are a couple of blue wards around the place, but a lot of them are now having to prop up the vision in mid lane. So Gala doesn't just jump in and assassinate the first person that shows up in that mid lane, especially if one of the supporting cast, the engaged members of LNG, finds an angle.
You see Zika just trying to find a lane where he can kind of get away from Wayward right now. He's kind of recognizing he's just not in a good spot to deal with the wit end Triforce of Wayward. And if Wayward kind of commits to the full split push, maybe looks for a hole breaker, this could be a win con coming out here for the side of top esports.
I completely agree. I think that is the one kind of shining hope for top esports, which is a little strange because Wayward, I think, has been the player with the most questions asked of him on top esports through their playoffs run. He has a real opportunity now to potentially force some side lane pressure for LNG. It does mean, however, if he ends up dying in that side lane, things get very, very awkward. So important that he backs off at the right moment. Baron has spawned. It's Act 2 of the LPL. As soon as that objective spawns, the game does change really in tone. If you make one mistake in your macro now, leave too many people on one side of the map, particularly with big damage from mid and bot lane, and stuff like Gwen, Gnar being in the game, you can take down this objective quickly. Top esports looking to try and secure vision.
Secure vision, you're very close to having both of those tiers kind of upgraded here for Rookie and JackeyLove. That's a significant amount of damage that they would need to try and, you know, make this one work. They're dealing with one ward. They know there was no vision there onto the Baron. I like this play. It's a kind of like lose-nothing play from the side of top esports. They go for something that's a little bit cheeky, and they don't actually, you know, lose anything for the thing. But I mean, they're happy to let this soul point go over. It's not soul. If they can get themselves a Baron, you can see the Rell's trying to move in to try and make sure they can see what's happening. They need to be very careful, though, because Gala
Scout's got a great
angle.
Scout has a great angle!
Amazing angle! Flashes in, gets himself the kill. That is just too easy now. And you can see Rookie, he's running, but he's been turned away. And that is just straight off the bat. LNG knowing they have the angles, they have themselves the pincer. And I mean, top esports are starting to get a little bit sloppy.
And how good is Scout at this Neeko, though? He's on 17 Magi stacks, hard-earned, found Tian out as well. He's going to have some extra reinforcements coming in to stop him from getting anywhere close towards that Baron. It's going to be an objective. It's going to be a huge team fight win. And as much as Wayward is getting advantages in the side lane, it is absolutely catastrophic for top esports.
Yeah, and look, you know what stops the split pushing Gnar?
Yeah.
That is an incredible thing. And look, Wayward thought about it. You can see him. He was coming back. Maybe I can take away the dragon. He can't because, I mean, look, great TP here from Scout just to put him into Fog of War.
It's a really good angle. I mean, how do you protect all of your angles when you have lost so many turrets, right? You already fighting against the mid lane outer turret being down for yourself, but not for the enemy team. Top lane, both those outer turrets have been taken down. It's much harder to secure all of those blind spots. They don't do it there. Another dragon's going to go to the side of LNG. Everything is going their way.
Not only that, you talked about the snowball from Scout. That Magi is looking pretty damn good right now. 21 stacks. You only just got
some light reading.
Yeah, doing some light reading in that regard. But I mean, just you can see it there that like top esports, they try to go for something. Honestly, they just kept the Baron pressure, then you know they don't have to do anything. Wayward split pushing, they're getting advantages without being ahead, and now they're behind 7,000 gold or just under it. Now they're looking to try and defend against this kind of, you know, siege, but you're a poke comp trying to deal with this, and now the Cyclone comes over. They will get the Pop Blossom out as well. Rookie is dead. Nautilus will not be too far behind him, but Sejuani wants to join him as well. Shotgun into the back of the line. That's going to be the double-double coming in here for LNG. You've got Wayward off in Narnia trying to make something happen. He turns around, he's 0-0-0, and his base is gone.
How many times are we going to teach you this lesson, old man? Don't give Gala Kaisa. What is it with LPL teams and trying to tempt this all-time great player of this champion with this kind of draft? He's in a difficult lane, don't get me wrong. JackeyLove on Varus, maybe they thought they could control him. They thought wrong. LNG, this is an exemplary snowball performance. Even Zika is losing gracefully in the side lane. He's not dying solo, he's just wave clearing, and it gives his team the ability to play through this advantage. Tarzan, Hung, getting onto the right targets at the right time. How do you recover from a team fight like this? You have to have your flashes up permanently, and you've never been allowed to have them. Skill shots land, death ensues.
I mean, this is the thing. It's why I talked about, the Jayce being kind of a little bit of a bait right now, because 1-5 for rookie, 40 CS down. I mean, it just hasn't worked out right now because clearly LNG said, look, we don't care if you first pick the Jayce. We have an answer, and they have. Nobody except for Hung has died. They are so far accelerated. They've got themselves effectively 3 Zhonyas for this next fight with double stopwatch. This is just such a masterclass as we come in now. They're looking for JackeyLove again. They've got the bonk. You will be going back to the fountain as the monkey picks up the kill. They've got another little bit of a cyclone to kind of work with here. Tian taking a hell of a lot of damage, does have to pop out his ultimate, but another 3-man Pop Blossom on the edge of everything, but maybe they've gone a little bit too far. What am I saying? Of course they haven't. They have everything here for LNG. This is game 1. This is everything they could have wanted, and this is the snowball that we wanted to see.
That is the first death of anyone on LNG which isn't Hung. Tarzan falls for 1 death in game 1. This is a red side domination from LNG against what is assumed to be even the stronger side. Top Esports, they've been blown out.
What a way to start off this series. And a great setup here for LNG moving forward. Top Esports have a hell of a lot to answer. They got the Jayce, which is supposed to be super meta. Didn't work. They got JackeyLove onto Varus. Didn't have the same level of presence that he needed or even shown on this pick in the previous games here in the playoff. I mean, I will be totally honest, Wayward looked good on the Gnar. I think the Gnar looked decent for Wayward, but I mean, that's one piece of a puzzle that's 1,000 pieces. Everything else just didn't work, and props to LNG because they were exceptional.
I think the damage is already done once that bot lane dive started coming through, and a couple of these other plays which allowed LNG into the enemy jungle at a timestamp where you really didn't want to let them in there. You want to be playing through your lanes as this Varus and not have the threat of this teleport coming behind you, of these huge players coming to ruin your gentleman's agreement of a 2v2 bot lane. I thought we left this in like Season 8 where everyone teleported bot lane. That kind of play from LNG to show the ability to kind of flip these lanes which could cause them problems if they were just still remaining as is a really intelligent play from them. And now going into further parts of this series, I think Top Esports have a lot of quite difficult problems to contend with, because even though Zika wasn't the win condition, he then used his early game agency to make sure there was a win condition elsewhere, and LNG didn't look back once they had that lead.
Yeah, and look, you highlight